Hi, I'm Beth Strathman. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about finding the positive side of your shadow. Now, your shadow is made up of the parts of yourself that you put away years ago when you were a child. They are what might be referred to as repressed. They're hidden away even to yourself. And even to this day, you might have a really hard time admitting to them, even though other people can see them in you. The shadow came from judgments made about you by your parents or society about behaviors and ways of thinking you might have had when you were very little, but that your parents or society didn't approve of. Therefore, they judged you for it. So it made you feel bad or wrong for behaving or thinking in a certain way. So you learned, ooh, I better not be that. So you just sort of locked them away in this thing that's psychologically referred to as your shadow. So you hid them away so much that they are outside your conscious awareness. You're not even really aware that you do these things or think in these ways unless someone points it out to you. But they will show up particularly if you're really triggered in some way. And if someone points it out to you, you'll work really hard not to admit that, no, that's not me. What are you talking about, right? But here's the thing. These shadow qualities aren't necessarily bad. It's just that it was a judgment by your parents or the society or culture that you grew up in that one shouldn't be that way. But that doesn't mean that there aren't positive things about these qualities that you've hidden away in your shadow. This means that you may have some very wonderful qualities hidden in your shadow, or the qualities that are hidden in your shadow do have a benefit to them. They have a purpose and a benefit, and they're okay to express if done appropriately. So think, for example, your own experience of either seeing a quality in someone and really disliking it, or seeing a quality in someone and really admiring that quality in that person. That's a signal that you probably have those qualities in yourself. So, for example, let's take a positive quality. Let's say that you admire someone for being extremely kind and you don't really see that in yourself. Well, it could be that that's a quality you've repressed in your shadow because maybe in your family, showing kindness was seen as weak and your parents didn't want you to be weak. Now, they wouldn't have told you, don't be kind, but they would have maybe admonished you for sharing too much or playing with a certain child that, they didn't think you should be playing with for whatever reason. And this idea of this quality of kindness, it's possible that you have it in yourself, but you won't admit it, right? Because you still have this stigma about this quality kindness that you think makes you weak in some way, shape, or form. It's the same with a negative quality. If you see a negative quality in someone, they're really stingy. It may be that you're really recognizing a quality that you've put away in your shadow. Maybe there's a stinginess about you sometimes. Maybe not all the times, but maybe in certain situations, you are stingy yourself. That's called projection, when you see a quality in someone else, and usually you have a judgment about it. To clarify, something that's not a shadow quality is if you act in a certain way and someone criticizes you for it now as an adult, and you don't have a problem with it because you like that quality in yourself, then that's not in your shadow. You're fully aware of it. Your shadow qualities are outside your conscious awareness. But if you're fully aware of a quality that just irks somebody else, then that's fine. That's not in your shadow, and that's not what we're talking about here. So to become a more authentic individual, you may want to consider looking at potential shadow qualities that you have and learning to embrace them and bring them back into your conscious awareness. Because to become authentic means that you're becoming a more whole human being, that you're accepting all parts of yourself and learning to express those parts in ways that don't harm other people. So, and regardless of whether or not your family or culture would approve, right? To become an authentic individual means that you understand how society works, you understand how your family works, but you're going to be true to yourself and you're going to express all parts of you, again, in ways that don't harm other people. So to become better at identifying and embracing your shadow, you've got to be vulnerable enough to embrace your shadow qualities, to really admit to them and say, yeah, that's a part of me. And this can be really difficult because we all have this thing called the inner critic, that's going to judge us. It's sort of that voice, that parental voice from when we were young, that's going to be, shaking its little finger at us. But again, to become that authentic individual, you've got to be able to really do what's right for you and not what the outside world is telling you is right for you. So here are some things you can do to start to become more aware of your shadow and to embrace your shadow qualities. To see qualities that you might have that you've put away in your shadow, you can kind of think about when you were a kid and some of the criticisms your parents might have had about you. So for example, just think of a sentence that starts this way. Don't be such a blank, fill in the blank. So it might be, don't be such a crybaby. Do you repress your emotions? Maybe it came from when you were a kid. So don't be such a crybaby might be one of those things. Or don't be so stubborn. Or don't be so defiant. Or disobedient. Another sentence starter you can use is something like, don't you dare, could be, don't you dare play with those kids who live down the street. Don't you dare eat that cookie. Don't you dare question my authority. Okay, so just think about, just kind of play around with some of those criticisms that your parents you might remember from childhood that your parents had or that they admonished you for. Other things you can do is just think about aspects of your personality that were criticized by others outside of your parents from the past, including maybe like teachers at school. Or even today, what do you still judge in yourself? When you talk to yourself sometimes, what are the things that you say to yourself when you're being critical of yourself? And what are some things that you stop yourself from doing so that you don't look weak or vulnerable in front of others? These are all ways to look for shadow qualities that you may want to start bringing more to your conscious awareness. Once you've identified your shadow qualities, you might take one or two of them and just kind of think through, okay, first of all, what is the quality? And then what was the negative impact that quality had on me or others when I might have displayed it? And then thirdly, what is actually a benefit, though, that quality had for me or for others? So, for example, let's say that maybe people accuse you of being too blunt, right? When you say things, you end up hurting people's feelings, and not meaning to, obviously, but you don't realize you're that blunt. Well, how did it negatively impact you or others? Well, it may have alienated others from you so that you didn't form friendships or as close a working relationship with them as you could have. It also may have impacted your reputation for being someone who wasn't fun to work with. On the other hand, what's a positive that could have come from that? Well, it let people know where you stood on something, right? So you're being fairly transparent, if you did come across bluntly, about what you thought about a particular issue. So take another quality. Let's say people say that you're stubborn and you don't see it, right? Well, if you really start to think about times that maybe I was stubborn here or there, what was the negative impact? It may have kept you stuck in your own way of thinking or doing something and didn't open you up to a broader way of seeing an issue. What's a positive thing that being stubborn in certain circumstances may have led to? It may have kept you true to yourself and who you are, and it may have also helped you persist through difficult times. So you can see for every quality, whether it's in your shadow or not, frankly, you can see that there could be a negative side of it and a positive side of it. So particularly with your shadow qualities, when you're looking at both the negative and positive sides of them, it helps you to see that a quality in and of itself is not necessary, it's not objectively bad or good. It's how it's used. Usually the description of a quality connotes what the other person thought of it. But anyway, that's shadow qualities for you. So to accept yourself completely the way you are, start looking into your shadow and the sunny side or the bright side or the positive side of some of those shadow traits that you discover in yourself. And that will help you bring it more into your way of being. Once you accept those qualities, you start to accept more of yourself. And when you can accept more of yourself, you can act more authentically in the world. So learn to channel those shadow qualities that you discover in the most positive way. And if you don't think that a quality, whether it's a shadow quality or not, is working for you, you can always learn to let go of it. So that's what I have today to say about the positive side of your shadow. Thanks for watching.